Good evening to you all. So, this is going to be exclusive tanks. Been doing a lot of ambushes lately, and I think I love the nature of ambushes because they're either very kind of close, general, kind of, gentlemanly affairs, or they are absolutely, I'm going to knock your teeth out with the parked car kind of thing. Because I noticed that pretty much one team will just decide to go all in, and they'll call in the ISK, and it just I guess it's kind of cool, to be honest. But so our team decided to do it this time. We actually called in 3 tanks. They're only militia tanks. They're nothing particularly special, but they're not shit fit, that's for certain. And you can see here I'm using the armor tank, which is pretty to be awful, to be honest. But it's just slow. I think after driving the Seeker, I'm actually quite impressed with the speed of it compared to the Soma. So this is obviously the Soma. But anyway, let's talk tanks. I think tanks are something that very controversial at the moment. A lot of people seem to have either a positive or phenomenally negative view of them. I still think that they can be seen as overpowered, and I think certainly some of the top end fits that we've shown and highlighted so far are just pretty much unkillable unless you have a good maybe 3 or 4 group of people who have the skill, the capability, and I guess the focus to bring them down. So to be honest, those of you who've never played either but are playing Dust, just be prepared to have tanks nerfed beyond belief, because CCP, they do listen to their community, and if enough people whine and moan about them, then CCP will do something, and they'll do something quite drastic. Equivalent here is the Titans. The Titans of Eve were basically I win buttons. As soon as you use one, they were unkillable blocks of metal that basically were just incredibly powerful and able to destroy small moons, not literally, but they were pretty good. So basically a pretty prolonged campaign was waged against them in the CSM, the Council of Stellar Management, to basically just bring them back in line. And I would probably not be too surprised if something would similar happen to tanks. Now, that doesn't mean tanks are going to get nerfed so that they're useless, but what it may mean is that they're more effective against vehicles than infantry, for example. Or you may see a beef up of anti-tank weaponry, and certainly I think the kind of turret railguns will be used more to kill tanks. So I'd be prepared for something to come, because it's going to happen, and I just think whenever anything is just a little bit OP, eventually it does get nerfed. And if those of you who remember missiles in the Dark Ages will be sagely nodding and scratching your neckbeards in recollection of what was pretty much an overpowered turret there. So I think you can expect blasters to be slightly nerfed. Anyway, not sure why I exploded there. I killed the dude. And I can only assume it's because I drove into something, but that's the fun of tanks. So this is then forward a bit more into another match. This was again just another Seeker tank, nothing particularly good, but getting the good modules on it. So I've got the good 30% hardener. I've also got the rather excellent extender, the shield extender, which gives you about 1,750 shield, and which is pretty good because it's not too bad on the old power grid as well. So you can get a pretty good Seeker tank, and with that a good shield tank as well. And just look at the speed of this thing compared to that horrible Soma. So certainly worth a look, and certainly I think if you can put a little bit of skill into certain skills in the shield or armor area, for example shield adaptation or armor adaptation, you can then use the really good hardeners. So for example, you can get a 30% hardener for your shield, so effectively you increase your shield by 30% of hit points. So it's worth doing. I think really that's how you should be using any vehicles. They should have some form of hardener, particularly HAVs. Even dropships as well can benefit from them. And I think also try to extend it, because it's no point having a very good resistance number if your actual hit point resistance pool, as in your hit point total, is really small as well. So a hardener and an extender will pay dividends. And the Seeker obviously has 3 mids, and you can generally use things like power grade expansion slots for the level for your low slots that just make it all possible. So, you know, I think this tank costs something like, if I remember rightly, about 390k per use. So it's not entirely cheap, but again, I think it's all to do with your play style. If you know, to be honest, 390 is going to be a couple of ambushes where you play very lightly, or it could be a really good skirmish map where you own. So, you know, I think you can't always play the ISK game in this game. Sometimes it's just worthwhile going for it. So I think certainly with tanks as well, I mean, what you can find is that they're pretty good at killing turrets, they're pretty good at killing vehicles, and to be honest, the only thing as a tank driver you probably have to fear is other tanks, and obviously people with forge guns. Swarm launchers, generally I've not come across many people with good swarm launchers yet. But I think even then, generally, if people switch to swarm launchers, you've kind of won a cultural victory right away, because it means that they're not really effective in any other purpose, which is something not to be sniffed at, because most of the maps that we lose because the enemy calls in a tank, even if it's a crap one, and their attention, or rather our attention, is completely divided. And with half the team out capturing stuff, me and, you know, the squad are generally switching to forge guns and so on. So, you know, generally we end up losing the round because we've divided what we're trying to do. So, but as a tactic, I'd say it's a particularly good one that you need to be aware of. Just an observation, again, most seasoned tank pilots will know this, but obviously all of your modules have a cooldown period, so you do need to be kind of aware of that. And in this case, the hardener has, I think, a cooldown period of, I think, 30 seconds. So, you know, that is quite a bit of time where you're basically unable to then harden yourself, which sounds very rude, but bear that in mind, because the issue, I mean, I'm being a bit stupid here because I'm actually activating the hardener when maybe I don't need to. So try and keep your hardeners ready for when you do need them. Now, you can fit multiple hardeners as well, and because the stacking penalties, I believe, are still not applying, you can actually really get some, you know, sort of 60% damage reduction on all damage to shield, which is significant when you calculate it. So yeah, have a consideration about that. I think it's you know, you need to just be a bit smarter than certainly I am being in this. I was being very casual in my gameplay, but if you call in your Gunlogi or your Madriga, you need to be really clear that you're not going to kind of lose it stupidly. Just another observation as well, one of the things I think is really worth doing if you're going to be an absolute bastard is destroying all of the modules that drop as well. So your supply depots such as that, even the clone reanimation units, are probably worth killing. Again, probably one of the key things you need to bear in mind is you get points for them in the tank, but also just killing a supply depot that's not obviously yours has great benefits to you, because you can actually restrict the ability for everyone to run to a supply depot, change to anti-vehicle fits, deal with you, then go back to their fits. If you actually lock them in so that there actually is no way to refit, then I think that's probably of immense. Ooh, that was painful. It's of immense you know, value to you. So let's talk about that. That guy basically just drove into me, and I think that's probably the only thing you can do in terms of friendly fire in this game is basically be a git and drive into people. I didn't mean to, but obviously he came out of nowhere. Honest, Gov, honest. You don't need to breathalyze me, honest. And I just think, you know, certainly a lot of the game's amusing moments are things like that. I think you can see there's a lot of swarm launches and stuff generally going for me now, so I need to be a bit kind of more on my game. But again, I just love tanks. I think they're good fun. I think they are overused as well, but I just hope that as more people get more skill points, they start to bring out more tanks, because at the moment this kind of very exclusive infantry battle that we seem to go through at the moment every round is fun, but it would be nice to see more dropships. It would be, you know, it'd be awesome to see more tanks versus tank battles. I think that'd be great fun. And you know, already we're theory crafting about setting up certain railgun, you know, high damage railgun tanks to take out stuff. Now obviously that's nice to see a dropship in the game, but I'm about to be orbitaled, so this is pretty much oh dear, game over. Or is it? Yeah, I just survived an orbital. Now, I didn't know that was possible either, but for some reason that orbital did absolute no damage to me. Well, sorry, it did do damage to me, but it didn't take me out. So I don't know if that was a precedent of me being hardened, which again sounds very rude, or if it was just a case of, you know, a delayed reaction, because unfortunately it's all about to go a bit wrong. But I found it incredible that you could survive an orbital. I thought actually that was the point of it. But there we go. Boom. Somebody hit me with an assault forge gun. Now, I know they only do 1200 damage, so God knows how that guy killed me, but props to him. He is a legend. I hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.